Since becoming a pilot, it's a lot of fun. It's a great job in the Air Force, but it is a lot of work. So yeah, I've faced a lot of challenges, maybe some bigger than others, but I think UPT was one of the hardest things I've done, or at least it took me a while to get used to. And yeah, I mean, that was just like a whole year of just like constant, like, I need to be at the top of my game, and that kind of like whittles you down a little bit. So just fighting that kind of Hey, what's up everyone? My name is John Uguy. I'm 26 years old and I am an Air Force pilot. So the first time I ever thought about just flying in general, like as a job, was I think close to high school graduation, because we had a lot of my church friends wanted to become airline pilots, I think, and then my parents kind of stated it one time, and you know, I didn't know what I was gonna do, you know, after graduating high school. I didn't know what like university I wanted to go to. I didn't know what I wanted to major in. I kind of like didn't really plan that far ahead. I feel like I probably should have, because a bunch of my friends kind of had, you know, rough ideas of where they were gonna go, but I didn't. But that was like the first time I ever thought about flying as a living. But that kind of took a back burner in my mind for a bit, and I stopped thinking about it just because, like I said, I had no idea what I wanted to do after high school. I just wanted to graduate and kind of figure it out from there. But I remember Interstellar came out in 2014. That was my freshman year of college. So I had already gone to Wisconsin, and I was majoring in astronautical engineering because it interested me. And then Interstellar came out, and I was like, oh my god, this movie is dope. Like, and I remember thinking, is like, I want to be an astronaut. And I was like, I don't know, that's a lot of work. So I like watered it down one. I was like, oh my god, I want to be a test pilot. And then I thought about it more. I was like, well, to be a test pilot in the first place, I gotta be a pilot, right? So then that kind of got me more like into thinking about becoming a military aviator more seriously. And after I watched that movie, I joined the ROTC program for the Air Force in Madison, Wisconsin, and hoping to get commissioned and become an officer, and then hopefully at that time become a pilot. So that's kind of how that whole thing unrolled. Yeah, I have a lot of friends that were like, oh, I wanted to be an Air Force pilot since I was like 2 years old, but my story is a little bit more of a late blooming story, I guess, but I mean, it worked out pretty well for me, so I'm pretty happy. Who provides inspiration? That is a good question. I think I don't really have one name or person that really provides inspiration for me. I think my family is kind of built on kind of taking risks, I'd say. Like, my parents moved to Canada first and then America, basically knowing almost no one in North America, and they decided to like get their further education, you know, in North America. Like, that's literally halfway across the world from Indonesia, and you know, they had me and my sister over in Canada and America. So I kind of maybe that story, like as a general story, kind of inspires me because, like, you know, I'm kind of like the first one in, or at least in my direct family, to even be tied with the military, and you know, none of my family really flies or like does anything like that for a living. So it's kind of cool. I don't know, I guess branching out to other things that I guess I never grew up with or was never exposed to as a child. Yeah, I think kind of paving the way for maybe Indonesians in general. It's cool because not many of my friends, not many of my family members can say that they were like military aviators, and that kind of just like, that kind of inspires me to like push on and keep going. So this is a question that gets asked a lot. You can literally Google it. I think if you just type in USAF pilot, and then there should be like a US Air Force like website, job description and prereqs and stuff for becoming a pilot. So you can get more details on that if you just like search it up, but you need to be an officer. So you can't enlist and become a pilot. You need to have some sort of degree and then join the military through some sort of commissioning source like ROTC, which is Reserve Officer Training Corps. It's held, you know, in multiple like universities around the US. OTS, which offers your training school, which is like for, you know, if you already have your degree and don't want to do ROTC throughout university, you can go through OTS and kind of have like that traditional like boot camp experience to get commissioned as an officer in the Air Force. Or you can go to the Air Force Academy. That's probably your best bet to get a pilot slot, because I'm pretty sure out of all the pilot slots they give out every fiscal year, 50% of them go to the Air Force Academy, and then the other 50% basically gets spread out among all the ROTC detachments and OTS. Don't quote me on those numbers, but I think it's something roughly around there. So you need to be commissioned, and in order to do that you need a degree. So you need a degree, become an officer, and then qualify for a rated slot. Rated just means any sort of flying related job in the Air Force. But yeah, a lot of like testing and stuff goes into that. There's tests called the AFOQT, the TBAS. Again, you can get more details on that if you like just search it up on Google. But it's been a couple years since I got my pilot slot in college, so kind of murky on the details of that. But like I said, it's fairly easy to figure out exactly what details there are for becoming a pilot, prereqs. What are the processes that must be followed? So after you get commissioned, let's say you already get your pilot slot. So there are like 4 pilot training bases in the US, and you basically get sent to one of them, and then you go through UPT, which is undergraduate pilot training. It's usually a year and a bit long once you start training and then graduate and get your wings. I was part of the last kind of normal syllabus class at Vance Air Force Base in Oklahoma. So the syllabi has changed kind of significantly in the past year even. So I can only attest to the normal UPT 2.0 syllabus, but basically all of UPT is a lot of academics, sims, and obviously flights. Phase 1 is basically academics. You learn everything, like instrument-wise, systems-wise, any like sort of flying techniques and stuff for the T6. So everybody that goes to Air Force pilot training has to fly the T6, which is like a single-engine turboprop high-performance aircraft. It's a fun plane to fly. It's like one of the funnest planes to fly once you get the hang of it. But yeah, phase 1 is a lot of academics. Phase 1 is a lot of academics and sims. You start simming in T6 simulators where you kind of get the hang of maybe the cockpit and like flying characteristics before you actually go fly. Phase 2, you hit the flight line, so that is when you actually start flying the actual plane. Phase 2 is a lot. It's a lot of flights every day, or mostly every day, and it's a lot of prep that goes into every one of those flights. A lot of debriefing. Phase 2 is definitely where you kind of get the bulk of UPT, and for some, or at least in my personal experience, for a lot of people, it's usually the hardest, because like there's really nothing else that kind of parallels UPT in college or high school. Like literally there's no other like flying school even that's like close to the ops tempo and the standards and like the stuff that they teach us. Like there's really nothing to really compare that to. So yeah, that's where the bulk of UPT is. T6s were a lot of fun. It's kind of a steep learning curve for at least me in my personal experience, but once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun to fly. But flying T6s, you do, you know, a lot of basic like aerobatics, kind of local area familiarization, a lot of patterns. That's kind of called trans, at least while I was going through it. And then nav is when you start doing a lot of approaches and like flying through weather and relying a lot on your instruments to fly. And then the third part of T6s is formation. That is a lot of fun. That's just flying with another T6 basically right next to you, which can be really scary at times, but a lot of fun at a lot of times as well. But that's phase 2. After you finish phase 2, the third and final phase is either T38s or T1s. So after everybody flies T6s, based on your performance, your rank, I think personality, I don't know, leadership, I think takes into account like the type of person that you are. But after they compile all these different things, and then after T6s you get placed into T38s, T1s, and helos, so helicopters. So T38s is the fighter bomber track, fly fast pointy jets. T1s is like the heavy track, so you fly more specialized flights to prepare you for, you know, tankers, cargo, anything like that. And then if you want helicopters, you get sent over to another base for helicopter training, but it's basically the same thing. So phase 3, you kind of start getting to more specialized flying. So T38 guys definitely do a lot of formation flights, because a bunch of fighters and bombers like fly in formation a lot. And T1 guys fly like airdrop and air refueling type sorties, just to get them prepared for, you know, let's say for example C-17s or KC-135s. So anyway, that's all of UPT. After that you get your wings, which is a great feeling, and then you also drop. So drop night is kind of like the night where you find out in front of your friends and family at the base bar, you know, have a couple of drinks and get a little rowdy. But that's where they really that's where they show you basically what airframe you'll be flying after graduating UPT, like as an actual Air Force pilot, not just a student in training. So, but all in all, the whole process from kind of starting UPT to getting your airframe, career airframe, is kind of like one and a bit years to 2 years, depending on like a lot of things, like weather. You know, back when I was going through it, COVID might have pushed people back, but yeah. Since becoming a pilot, what are the challenges you have to face? Has John ever faced a difficult problem? Cool. So, since becoming a pilot, it's a lot of fun. It's a great job in the Air Force, but it is a lot of work. So yeah, I've faced a lot of challenges, maybe some bigger than others, but I think UPT was one of the hardest things I've done, or at least it took me a while to get used to. And yeah, I mean, that was just like a whole year of just like constant, like I need to be at the top of my game, and that kind of like whittles you down a little bit. So just fighting that kind of marathon, running that marathon at a sprint's pace is like really difficult, both physically and mentally. So yeah, you just, at that point, you kind of rely on, you know, everything else that kind of keeps you going, like friends, family, hobbies, you know, just having a good time on the weekends. But yeah, definitely kind of find out that inner resiliency. Definitely rely on God for that sort of like resiliency. So yeah. Cool. So accomplishment I'm most proud of, I would say definitely getting my wings. Like UPT was very challenging. It was awesome finally, like being able to call myself like an actual Air Force like pilot. Like, you know, you go through all this training, and like when they give you your wings, you're like, oh my god, I'm actually like an aviator. I'm not just like a student anymore. Like, this is wild. But also getting my first choice aircraft on drop night, that was also one of my proudest achievements. Yeah, it was dope. Like, there's a reason why I put it as number one, and I got it, and I was ecstatic about it. And yeah, because AFSOC airframes are really cool. I'll just leave it at that. Cool. I mean, obviously, my direct family members definitely a huge part of that. Like, my mom, my dad, and my sister definitely were like kind of the backbone of, I guess, everything hard that I've gone through, really. Like, I'm the youngest in my family, so having an older sister really helps at times, just to be able to rant or talk or joke or like just get stuff off your head and off your shoulders, off your chest. Like, it really helps being able to have like a family member to do that with. And my family's always been, ever since I left for college, my family's always been like all over the place. Like, my parents lived overseas, my sisters in Canada or whatever. But I guess going through that right when I left for college, it really helped, because like you have that at 18, you kind of figure out, you know, what works, what doesn't, when it comes to like communicating with your family, or like, you know, what support system that you have to rely on. So definitely my parents and my sister for sure got me through even college. Just getting my degree was also like a challenge, and being so far from home, like, there definitely the support system I needed to get my degree in college, to go to pilot training, to go through the schoolhouse of my airframe, to, you know, move to different places for different things, and just all of that kind of like can be a lot, but with a good support system like my family, then it made it way easier. So, kind of an adrenaline junkie. Other than flying for work, I love flying just for fun, which is very different from military flying. But yeah, obviously I love flying, so I'm gonna try and fly as much as possible just for fun, even because like it's so much more relaxing, I think, when you're just flying around for fun, sightseeing, stuff like that. Taking friends and family up in the air with you is really cool. But other than that, I love playing soccer. I love skateboarding as well. Again, kind of a adrenaline junkie. I love scuba diving and skydiving when I have enough money and time to do that. But also travel. Yeah, road trips, just traveling to different places. I've gotten a lot of that, I guess, exposure to travel when I was a kid, since I lived overseas as a kid, because I lived in Indonesia for a bit, for like 9 years. So, you know, domestic flights all around kind of the Southeast Asia region. I got a early exposure to that and kind of caught the travel bug. So now that I'm a little grown up, try and save for air tickets, places, and I like driving to different places, but travel is definitely one of also the big reasons I wanted to become a pilot as well. But yeah, soccer, skateboarding, joined the base soccer team here. Scuba diving, I'm in kind of in a landlocked area right now, so not much scuba diving, but skydiving. I just moved, so kind of still settling in, but definitely looking to skydive more, trying to get solo certified for that. Other than that, not much else really. Maybe video games sometimes. I love go-karting and that type of deal, so whenever I do travel to like maybe a bigger city, I try and go go-karting with friends, so that's another hobby of mine. Target or dream I want to achieve. Basically, as of right now, short term, I just want to be the best pilot that I can be. Basically, like, my job right now is just to be, you know, the best co-pilot I can be. And you know, because there's probably a deployment sometime in the future, and I just want to do my job well. But other than that, target or dream I want to achieve, probably longer term, I mean, airlines is always a great option for military aviators. I've been looking at that a lot. Maybe once I get out, maybe. Again, that's kind of a long-term thing that I still haven't, you know, set my eyes on, but becoming an airline pilot and like making bank would be dope as kind of like a post-military job. But I've been thinking about airlines, but I've also been thinking about being a bush pilot, and that kind of transitions to the next question. Is there a desire to work in Indonesia? Possibly. Was thinking about it, about becoming a bush pilot, because it seems exciting and it seems kind of something that I would very much enjoy and kind of like fits my personality as well. But Indonesia is a very, very diverse location, especially for flying, and that was, I guess, a plan that I was just thinking. Again, it's kind of a long time before I kind of try and settle my eyes on something, but becoming a bush pilot or even an airline pilot and then living in, you know, Indonesia, let's say like Bali or something, would be sick. So I don't know yet. There's a lot of time for me to figure that out. So, but those are just some options I've been thinking about. I would say probably don't care what all the other noise is out there. What I mean by that is the people that doubt you, like, you know, it's not your job to like convince them otherwise. You know, why are they doubting you, you know? Because I'd say kind of my unconventional journey into the Air Force, even before that, like getting my degree, I guess I got a lot of maybe doubt, let's say, just because maybe throughout middle school or high school I wasn't like that type of guy that was like, you know, gonna be an astronautical engineer or gonna be like an Air Force pilot. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people that like grew up with me were like kind of shocked that like, oh, you're an Air Force pilot? Wait, what? But yeah, like I never really got that into my head, just because like I'm kind of stubborn too. So I'm like, well, if this guy tells me I can't do it, well, I'm just gonna do it just to like prove him wrong, basically. And yeah, you're gonna go through a lot of obstacles and challenges in your life. You're gonna probably have a lot of people trying to drag you down or like convince you otherwise, but if you truly believe in yourself and like definitely work hard enough to get what you want and what you dream of, no matter how noisy, you know, everybody else is, like have a good support system, you know, definitely take advantage of that and be a good support system to others. Be a bro is what they one of the biggest advice at UPT at pilot training was just be a bro, help each other out, and that's definitely two of the things that I would say kind of, I don't know, message or tip for success, I guess. Like, you know, don't doubt yourself, work hard to get what you want, to get what you dreamed, work hard towards your goals, and be a bro, like help everyone out. Yeah, that's all I got for that. Cool. So it was nice talking about all that stuff with y'all. Hopefully that was kind of informational, at least maybe entertaining, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, that's all I got. Thanks guys, see ya.
to